Best channel, helping you be a successful, happy man, overcome problems, and be a success out there. Be a success. And women, of course, you're very welcome to this channel. We're happy to have you understand issues, men, and get involved. Help build society. We'd love to have some lovely women and people in here. So let's jump into the article here today with how my 9-year-old daughter solved the Ukraine war problem. Now, I've mentioned this article before, and I made some highlights from it, but I think it's essential that we address. I'm probably going to go back to this website, the Good Men Project. Of course, any website or somebody who has the audacity to tell you who is a good man and who's not a good man probably has an agenda. But here, let's read what they say, and of course, we're going to go back and forth with reading and discussing this article here. Please put your thoughts down below, and of course, like, comment, subscribe, and all that if you do find this of value and my content helpful. So let's jump into the video. They say the god-awful truth. The truth of the matter is harsh. People have forgotten humanity. I suppose I find that the argument of quote-unquote humanity is a very loose argument. It's a very weak argument. What is human? What is humane? And how is having humanity or being humane a inherently good or bad thing? It's not something that speaks to something with rules like principles or honor, or something with something where you can clearly tell what if somebody's doing something. Are they breaking a certain rule or an expectation or an obligation? When you use the word humanity, somebody's version of what's humane and not humane can be completely different, vastly different. I suppose you could assert that being human or humane means that you have interest or love or care or consideration, maybe even empathy for other human beings, that you care about other people. But that's about the only thing that you can say regarding humanity and what humanity kind of is. Any other twist or version of humanity, it doesn't really have much of any meaning. So let's continue with what they say. They say we are so wrapped up in the self-inflicted issues. So we inflict ourselves with these issues. I guess they're not really a problem is what they're saying. Oh, here we go. They say border issues, security concerns, immigration, historical bravado. These are fictions that we create. So when your country is being flooded with invaders who not only take your jobs, make your labor cheaper, and they're given privileges by the government. They are seen as quote-unquote a minority. They have to be protected. These people are, your children are taught to speak their language and forced to speak, those language. And I was openly told as a kid that America was going to become Spanish and that we better learn how to speak Spanish, and they weren't saying that out of concern. They were just saying as a matter of fact. That America is going to speak Spanish, and you better learn how to speak it because you're a problem, or that's a responsibility on your shoulders. So again, that's self-inflicted issues. You're just hurting yourself or your own nation if you worry about border security. Doesn't matter if who comes into your country and who doesn't. Doesn't matter who takes advantage of your welfare programs. Doesn't matter that your politicians are using these people to get votes to replace you, change demographics, and openly talk about changing the average skin tone to a darker color, and you can also they probably even mean by saying that all people will be a darker skin color, that essentially they're making war against white people. Just ignore that. It's a self-inflicted issue if you think this is a potential problem, and that you don't think, if you do think that politicians and government is taking advantage of you with taxes and demographics and the war they have created with feminism, where men and women are at odds with each other. Just ignore all those things. That's not really an issue. If you would just ignore it and stop talking about it, then maybe we'd have a better world. Security concerns. So if you have locks on your door, if you have ways to protect your money and your bank, even your own bank account. Oh, you have passwords on your bank account? Why don't you just hand your money out there for everybody? That will make the world a better place. Again, with immigration. you want to make sure somebody isn't a criminal, or you want to control who comes in and out of your country. Maybe you're concerned that a lot of these people who are they're called refugees and they're called immigrants are actually people who openly want to destroy your country and your government and openly hate you, and even to the point where they say it's holy war or jihad against you. You're the problem for talking about that. You're the problem for exposing that. You're the problem for discussing that in any way. You talk about demographics where they're bringing in more immigrants into most Western countries, especially the USA. There's more people that are immigrants that they're bringing into this country and giving them your benefits and tax programs and special loans, and building cities and apartments and developing these areas for them, more than are actually born into the USA soil. If that didn't make sense, let me say it again to you. There are more of these immigrants who are being brought into this country, and they want many more brought into this country every year than are actually born into your country. You're not being replaced. Oh no. They're not trying to change demographics. They're not trying to, remove your wealth and your history and your legacy and any of your family's power. Don't think about that. And historical bravado as well. If you have, a favorite historical leader, if you think that America had great principles, and if you see all the technological advancements and all the innovation and the inventions and the way that America has improved the world, you're just a terrible person. If you think America has been a beacon of freedom and has encouraged the world to be a more free place, you're just a terrible person. If you think that America has, the best principles regarding, freedom overall, yes, the government is corrupt, and there's lots of people who are hurting the nation and frankly destroying it. But I mean, in regards to principles and honor, if you think that America did great things in your nation as well, if you can point out any good leaders or good aspects of your own history, you're just a problem. You're just inhumane. Everybody is equal, no matter how much good you did, how much of a leader you were. But at the same time, these same types of people demand that you worship at the feet of Fauci as a god, and that Trudeau and other people should be praised for talking about the Great Reset. And again, people act like this stuff is a theory, and these people openly are telling you to your face, to the public, that this stuff is going to happen and happening. Again, Forbes, considered somehow a business magazine, openly told the public that you're not going to own anything in the future and that you're going to be happy about it. No, you're just inhumane. You just don't have a heart. You're just not considerate. If you want to speak out, or possibly you want privacy rights, or want to speak out against these types of super corporations and super organizations who twist your government and your politicians and own and control everything. Yeah, you're just the inhumane person because you don't want your inheritance stolen. Because a lot of these states now, again, a lot of the older generation, the boomers and those kinds of people are passing away, are about to, and they have 70% inheritance taxes in some cases. Imagine that, maybe your grandparents had a little bit of money, maybe not a lot. Let's say they had $10,000, or maybe they had a house. Let's say they had maybe $1 million of assets with their house and everything that they own. Maybe you're lucky and they had owned a little bit of property or something. That means the government's going to take $700,000. Let's say your parents were destitute, and after all the bills were paid, after they sold off the family car and what they did own of a house, maybe they were renting and they didn't own anything. Maybe they had $10,000 left. That means the government's going to take $7,000 of that. You don't think that they're about to steal, almost everything that everybody's ever worked for? And they already tax everything, taxes upon taxes, and some things are made, twice the expense, 2 times as expensive, because it's taxed at every possible stage. The more hands touch it, of course, the more expensive it gets, but also the more taxes are upon it as well. You pay more and more taxes. Of course, You're not supposed to talk about any of that. You're just a black-hearted, inconsiderate person if you talk about those types of things. So let's continue with this crazy article. They say our endless pursuit of material wealth, natural resources, and control lead to a catastrophic situation. So, I mean, sure, people do need control. Sure, people do need to, not be extremely greedy. But again, they're attacking capitalism here. Again, how you build lives and build, build society and have people to be happier is through capitalism, a free exchange of goods. Why shouldn't you, want to enjoy things here in the physical? Again, these people aren't even arguing anything about spiritualism or, this is just a really bad kind of moral argument. And these are the types of things and the same people who think that they are so good. And these are the types of people who work at the United Nations and impact the world. This person has a website here, and they're telling you that you shouldn't seek these things. Of course, when they talk about natural resources, that's their way of talking about fossil fuels or gasoline or petrol. And they're going to keep going on with this green, if you want to talk about something that's fake, talk about, this green agenda. Talk about global warming. That's something that's actually fake. That's something that's actually, and also, if we're going to talk about something that's problematic, is not problematic that it's a form of redistribution of wealth with with greenhouse gas credits. And, these people really, they don't care about you. They don't care that you're trying to improve your life. They don't want you to work more successful. I work at college. I encountered somebody who their biggest goal and ambition was to make it so, or legally, so you couldn't work as much because that would make you more happy. And they said that they would essentially force the governments one way or another. The government would force the businesses to pay you almost as much money for less work. So they're going to try to regulate, and if you don't know, they already do those kinds of things with the trucking industry. Our whole economy is completely regulated and destroyed. They've destroyed our healthcare system. And you don't think that these types of things are coming. This person was openly extremely passionate about forcing you to work less. I told this person that I was raised in a poor family and that I worked overtime so I could be here at college, and he thought that I was a terrible, terrible person. And I also tried to bring this person to work a couple times because he didn't own a car, and he thought that I was obligated to give him a ride in a car. And he thought he was a victim, and that there's an expectation that I drive him there, and he wasn't even going to pay for any of the gas or any of the gas money. This is the kind of the world we live in. And let's continue. Let's continue with this crazy article. They say they caught my daughter typing. She was on YouTube, and she was. This is a YouTube application using the smart TV, and she essentially came across the Ukraine conflict again. YouTube supposedly has a kids program, and they regulate what kids can and can't see, and you have to designate or tell YouTube, is this made for kids or not? Are you suggesting or promoting content about the Ukraine conflict or war to little kids? Again, I don't know how young or old this daughter is. I think if a kid is like 8 or 10 years old, I think that they should be able to understand and can be educated about certain serious topics. But again, we don't know how old this kid was. And a YouTube, they got to, they heard about the Ukraine conflict, and of course their schools tell them about it as well. But, and this made them cringe. What? It made them cringe. It says, "Baby, if you ever want to know anything, something, just come to Daddy, and I will always do it for you." Do you know what the words were? I couldn't believe what she typed. How do Russians' nuclear bombs work? So a kid is curious and wants to know how things work. Why is that scary? Why is that scary that kids, I mean, you should give kids some perspective and help them understand things and that are serious, but helping kids, again, the kid is going to go and be learning about chemistry soon. They're going to be learning about uranium soon, and they're going to know some of the basic principles in regards to chemistry and valence electrons, and they're going to learn. I don't know. They're destroying our public education, so maybe they won't even teach valence electrons in chemistry and they certainly don't teach biology anymore. They certainly don't. But that horrified them, but the kid wanted to know what nuclear bombs even were and how they worked. I think they should understand these kinds of things. Maybe you should also tell your daughter that if we do get nuked by Russian missiles, that you can thank Hillary Clinton for those. Maybe you should talk about that. But of course, no, we can't talk about those kinds of things. Anyways, watched generals from multiple countries. Again, that's kind of deep. Most people don't actually listen to the generals and actually listen to any debates. They don't listen to lawsuits. They don't listen to C-SPAN, where actual legal things are discussed. And our law is really messed up, and it's really quite pathetic. Like with the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, if you've ever heard Amber Heard's lawyer, he's frankly pathetic. And these kinds of people these days can hardly even speak English. It's anyways. Let's continue with the article. Says I can't be everywhere at once. This mother was being extremely overprotective. Again, I don't know how young this daughter was. If she's 8, 9, 10 years old, you can tell her the basics of what a nuclear bomb is and tell her how dangerous these are. I mean, you don't need to do a science experiment or tell her the science of it. But, if a kid hears about a nuclear bomb or nuclear apocalypse or something and they don't know what that is, I mean, you might have seen pictures of nuclear explosions and you might actually know what that is, even as somewhat as a kid. But these modern kids, they hear that, these nuclear bombs are a threat, but they don't know what they are. And what your first inclination is to just, hide them from information. These are the types of parents who create problem children who want to escape and run away or go on the fringe and do extreme actions, or maybe, somebody with bad intentions gives them information that has maybe some truth to it, and then they're able to, use or abuse them or just give them some bad ideas. This is just bad parenting as well. But let's continue. They say, it is my hope that I can guide her through these complex ideas. Exactly. Instead of shutting down the information, that's what you need to do. Instead of her doing it on her own. I think it's good that you would have a relationship where, you can openly discuss something that your daughter could come to you and tell you about what she has questions about. An adult mind is better equipped to explain craziness. It would be nice if you would say, write this correctly and say, explain this craziness or this crazy world. It's not written very correctly, but it's not really that complex of an issue. Again, I'm talking about this article, and I can explain the Ukraine-Russian conflict, but it's very easy to understand. People these days don't understand basic political issues, and they run in circles and they listen to their news that tells them what to think and what to feel, and then they don't know anything about anything. There's been generations of people, the people my age, and every single thing that they believe, that major historical events and their frame of mind and the narratives that they believe. I mean, they're all lies, and they're all falsehoods. And so that, you do, I mean, of course, as a parent, you need to have, some responsibility. But as the kid gets older and older, you need to teach them correct principles so they can educate themselves and find information on their own. This is just an extreme overreaction here. And we'll get to the end of the article, because I highly doubt that this this mother explained this issue in any detail or decently at all, because of the conclusion this daughter we're going to talk about here in a second comes to. If you say this issue is just quote unquote craziness, this Russian-Ukraine conflict, it's just craziness. No, either you don't understand the issue or you don't care about the issue. There's a lot of very sober-minded people. The Russians may drink a lot of vodka, but they're very sober-minded, and they know what they're doing, and they know why they're doing it. These people aren't doing these kinds of things just because they are quote-unquote crazy. That really is disingenuous, or throws, any type of understanding of this completely out the window. Or just, if you tell somebody, oh, they're just crazy, I mean, they're not going to understand these people's perspectives anyways. They say, so with great reluctance, I walk into the family room and I sat with her. Reluctance. Why did you have reluctance to want to explain a world event? Again, I don't know how old this daughter is, but why don't you want to be a parent? Why wouldn't you be excited to explain something, even if a war or a conflict is not supposedly the the good vibes or the quote unquote positivity, it's not the it's not the Pony Brigade, but why wouldn't you be happy to teach your daughter? This is quite strange. So now they're saying they get emotional. I held her hand. And I said no words. You said no words. This is just terrible parenting. And these are the kinds of people who they think that they are the moral leaders and people of great affluence, or people who are improving the world, and they're fighting for quote unquote social justice. This mother is completely incompetent. Anyways, they say we watched how missiles defense systems work in other countries. Again, you could have explained explained it in general. Why did you have to sit there and watch a 30-minute video about the technical, missile relay system, and about missile silos, and the distance about how far that they can reach? I mean, why did you have to watch a 30-minute video? Again, maybe this daughter is very technical, and applauds to her. Like, I was a kid and I like to watch how it's made. Other kids wanted to run around in circles and play football and chase each other and flirt and stuff when they were like young teenagers. But I wanted to watch like how it's made, because I didn't know how anything was actually made in these factories. Again, the United States of America has very little actual factories and doesn't produce much of anything anymore. And I was fascinated. I mean, the average person these days doesn't even understand how gears work together. I mean, like the basics of things. And also with wind turbines, you praise these windmills, these windmills for green energy, but you have no idea how they work. Most of you have no idea how they work, and certainly don't know that they're not cost effective, and that they're a problem, and that that they're sunk cost. We're praying that we get better technology that makes them actually profitable, but they lose us money. And they're a problem, and not to mention how all the birds that they kill, and that we're wasting farmland and all this. Anyways, let's continue on with this article. Said we watched how missiles could be launched right now. So this mother is getting into fear. She sounds like she's more fearful than the daughter is. We all have seen Hiroshima. Well, maybe your daughter hasn't. Maybe you should show her the explosion of Hiroshima and that footage. And I mean, this is ridiculous. Anyways, they say none of us watched a currently developed Russian hydrogen bomb detonate. None of us. You should say have. See, again, I'm not going to go on this too long, but these are the same people, if you misspell something when you quickly type something in a message or a comment or a chat box, these are the two people who flip out and act as if your argument now has no validity because you put a comma out of place or you put an extra space somewhere, and these people can't even speak English. My goodness. Okay, so who cares? A Russian hydrogen bomb. You saw how it was detonated. Oh, now you're scared. These bombs are thousands times what we times what we have on video recording. You mean 1,000 times more powerful? Why can't you speak proper English? Why can't you actually, write a sentence? And this person probably is paid more than I have ever been paid, and they're probably given more respect than I've ever been given respect. And these people and this person here can't even write a decent article. The destruction is absolutely devastating. Okay, it's devastating, and they're not 1,000 times more powerful, but they are significantly more powerful. But thank you for the exaggeration. And you watched a video that probably was technical. It would have been nice if you would have been a little bit technical as well here. Anyways, and you didn't talk about the cobalt bombs that supposedly exist, that are supposedly far more powerful. But we'll just ignore that for now. They say, we watched numerous retired military officers from the United States, Europe, Asia, tactically explain how Russia could literally wipe out. Yeah, I mean, again, this is fear-mongering. The USA can do it. Canada has a fair amount of nukes. We have quite a few countries who could do quite a bit of damage. China has nukes. Again, Russia isn't the only threat regarding nukes. And of course, you don't talk about Iran, which we have funded and are aiding them and giving them nuclear power as well. Anyways, we'll continue. Just launching, yeah. I'm not a troll or some kind of pro-Russian writer. Yeah, they have to defend themselves here. We know that you're a leftist. Again, I won't get into the possibility of who's a Russian agent or not here. But, whenever you have a little bit of, say something neutral or bring in something different into the discussion, or if you're not just completely anti-Russia in every way, or maybe you're just neutral and you want to explain the facts to help people understand things, now people will act as if you are a Russian agent. Tulsi Gabbard was told that she was one, and she was one of the most reasonable people who actually brought up some very important things regarding these issues, and the motivations and transparency of information to the American public. And of course, Tulsi Gabbard was told to shut up, but we won't talk too much about that. They say that the U.S. rhetoric is dangerous, so is the Russian rhetoric. Sure, but if this is how you write in a blog, imagine how this was written, or what was said to a little daughter that was probably less information or less was said and was really dumbed down. You're not going to explain, what the wrong or incorrect aspects of what the U.S. is saying and Russia. And what about Ukraine? Oh, is the Ukraine saying anything wrong? Are they spinning information? Have they been completely truthful about anything or everything? We're going to get to the real kicker here. We're going to get to the big point of this article here in a second. They say, my daughter and I learned Russia still had enough weapons to survive a counterattack. Again, with these type of speculations, again, if we did go into, it's called mutually assured destruction for a reason. If we did this, or if the whole world started sending nukes, most people would be destroyed. Maybe there would be a few silos or a few places where they could counterattack from, or we could if we were hit. But if we do this, they're going to send theirs, and most of the cities, most of the population, and most people on the earth would be destroyed. I worrying about a counterattack. Why are you even talking about a quote-unquote counterattack? Are you talking about a preemptive strike? Are we going George Bush here? What in the world is this person talking about? Is it, if we attack first, should they not counterattack? Or if they attack first, should we not counterattack? That's quite the moral dilemma, but you don't discuss any of that. This is just plain Jane fear-mongering over here. Of course, Russia would be bombed too. Of course, that's what I'm saying. Nearly all Western Russia would become a toxic wasteland. That's not the point. What is your point here? Russia would be destroyed, but Russia could still. So they're talking about that if Russia, you know, we could get Russia back, or we could make sure Russia was destroyed, but that the damages would be to, you know, it wouldn't be worth it. The damages would be too much. It would go too far. That we wouldn't want to do this. Of course, that's the whole point of the nuclear mutually insured destruction, and that's why nobody does it, is because it does way too much damage to all people, and it gets everybody sending nukes all across the world, and then everybody goes up in flames and explosions. It's obvious, but this person is very, very, very bad at writing articles. Very bad. Anyways, let's continue. My daughter finished the video. She was sitting there watching. She saw the entire bomb blast proportion. Do you mean the size of the explosion? This person is terrible. Terrible at writing. She says she watched the radiation effects. You mean the... I mean, I guess effects works, but should you say aftermath or, you know, consequences? That'd be a better word. She watched sickness, period. That's really badly written as well. Why don't you talk about the effect? You could combine those two sentences. I sound like an English professor. I actually enjoyed English and was very good at it, but I had leftist professors who didn't like what I said and gave me fairly bad grades. But one time I barely passed as well. But you could combine those two sentences and talk about the, you know, she watched the effects of radiation sickness or sicknesses and mutations caused by the aftermath of nuclear bombs or nuclear fallout. Why can't you just write, you know, decent sentences? She watched food problems. You mean food shortages and mutations in the food, and the food essentially being poisoned by nuclear radiation? Why don't you actually write, write decently or correctly? She watched death to... You mean the death toll, the potential death toll projections, or the projected or, you know, speculated death toll projections? Anyways, my daughter watched generals from multiple countries say the same thing, that the world is unable to stop such a vast volley of nuclear warheads coming from Russia. Well, we should... I mean, that's somewhat true, but we do have some methodology. We have lasers, and we have technology that's supposed to make the nuclear bombs go off path. And there's ways that we can use nuclear bombs to detonate and explode nuclear bombs in the air so they don't hit their designated targets or where they're supposed to land or hit. We do have some methodology. Again, we don't even know the technologies that are available to us, because why would you give your big military secrets away to the world and to enemies? And that's why China constantly steals and tries to get more information from our government, is because we do have lots of secrets, and other nations and people have secrets as well. It says the bomb will hit us and cause mass casualties. This person, they keep repeating themselves. And really kind of wasting time. Let's continue. And she said the simple words. This is the big point of the article. This is the glitch. This is the you know, the big point of the article that they think is so impactful and so important. They say, "Daddy, why would anyone want to kill every single person in the world? If they kill everyone, they will be alone." Not only is this not exactly true, there will be some survivors. And they probably just watched this, so they know that there will be some survivors. Yes, the survivors on the planet will struggle. It'll be a terrible existence, and you know, there'll be hundreds, if not thousands, of years of nuclear radiation where things are poisoned and damaged and mutated because of nuclear fallout and the damages and the consequences of the nuclear bombs. But so you should have corrected her in this. But her point. Her point is that, you know, the little daughter says if they kill everyone, they will all be alone. This daughter does not understand, you know, does not understand war or conflict or the issue at hand. But essentially, she's asking here: is would the benefits be worth the cost? Why would Russia do this if most of them or all of them would be destroyed, or if they would be mostly alone? Because she herself does not want to be alone. As you can see, she's interjecting herself in this, and And this is, again, when they start talking about being humane or being caring about other people. This was kind of their big why they wrote this article, and what this whole entire article is wrapped around. That we should all be childlike, to the point where we just like, oh, we want to love somebody and support somebody, and therefore, that's going to stop war, and Russia will feel like they're less alone. They don't understand the political or the economic, or the social types of things that are leading up to these conflicts, as well as America, Nancy Pelosi, and Chuck Schumer, and more, our own our own directors of the FBI and the CIA are encouraging this war with Russia, because again, this is a proxy war, and I could get more into this, and there's many more details and many more facts, but we're doing this because of the our NATO alliances, and behind all of this, the bankers and all of this. Again, your little daughter thinks that Russia, if they do this, they just would end up being alone. They're not going to be alone, and that's not even the issue. But of course, you're not going to explain any of this, and again, this might be over her head, so you might say that, conflict, some people are willing to take risks or do damages, because they think that the rewards are worth there's the cost benefit analysis that that they're going to get something out of it, even though there's big damages and big risk. They're willing to potentially do something like this. But instead, these types of people sit down and they want to nurture and encourage this, not only ignorance, but and again, there is some beauty to being sympathetic and caring about other people. But this little daughter, it has an article written about her, if this is even a real article, if this is real to begin with. And she's going to think that she can go around and just encourage humanity and bring people together, and that she's going to be a peacecraft. If you know that reference, I applaud you. Please let me know down below. And she's going to, help the world. And it just encourages ignorance. And again, it is a good message to stop wars and prevent wars, but it doesn't address the issues at hand. Telling Russia that we're here for you and that we don't want you to be alone, and if you send the nukes, you're going to be all alone, is not going to help the issue, is not going to solve the issue. This is extremely ignorant. This is extremely dumb. But let's continue. They say she saw the destruction and the bad choices, the politics. That's debatable if it's a bad choice or not, but she even disregarded the fact that we could become victims of the blast. Again, this is seen as honorable. This is seen as good. This Western mentality of self-sacrificing yourself for others is detrimental. It can be beneficial if you have people who are like-minded and are willing to, also you're dealing with people who are willing to be empathetic, and they see the sacrifices that you've made and the efforts that you have made and the damages that have been done. If you're dealing with people who have selfish motives and are not empathetic, the more you sacrifice, the more power they gain and the more happy they are. Our politicians and our government and a lot of other people like that are this way currently. No matter how much you capitulate to the woke mob, no matter how much you are of an ally, no matter how much you give, no matter how much you donate, no matter how much you pay for with taxes, you cannot be redeemed. You are the original sinner, especially if you're straight or if you are white, or especially if you're a straight white man. You are the original bad person in our current society and in our culture. You are evil. And of course, they're not going to speak about that in these at this, the Good Man Project here. They're not going to talk about how, these types of issues are already going on. Anyways, they say a few people making war, a few people are forcing us into this situation. That is somewhat true. Political people who are supposed to represent the will of the people, these people in huge amounts of power are supposed to, represent the will of the people and make the best choices and decisions, and often they go for their own selfish interests. And they say it's a war between governments. Now they actually get to a point that's somewhat decent. This is somewhat true. This is a war between governments, but it's ultimately also a bit of a lie, because this is ultimately a game of, with the UN and the United Nations, and also the global bankers and the people who are behind and fund organizations like the WHO. And if you can blame nations and governments as being a problem, and you say that you are a citizen of the world, that you are humane, that you are a citizen, or that you care about people, this is what's being trained. In the past, you were being trained, your kids were being trained in public schools and colleges, to believe in, worry about the polar bears and global warming, and they were told to fight for social justice. Now they're being taught, your children are being taught to be citizens of the world. Reject your government, reject your traditions, reject your culture, reject your religions, and become a member and fight for and undermine your country and its nation and its powers and its leadership. Do you see what's actually going on here? And this is supposed to be a feel-good article. A feel-good article where we all just come together. And the little daughter, spoke the little truth, the truth of the babes, as, the Christians would say. It's spoken by little children. Anyways, they say here, Americans, Ukrainians, and Russians do not want to obliterate each other from existence. I guess you could say that's true. They care more about their goals and objectives. That's what really matters first. And that, it's not necessarily that they want to, but again, it's not necessarily true, because I doubt that they explain this, but there's a lot of Russians who do want to destroy the USA completely, and they've spoken about it, and they've made agendas and plans or organized the undermining and the destruction of the USA. And so they do really want the USA destroyed. And there are a lot of very selfish and greedy American politicians, and I'm not sure about Ukraine too much, but a lot of really greedy American politicians who would love to somehow take control of Russia. But anyways, we do not want to bury an island under the ocean. I'm not really sure what they mean by that, as in this would be too extreme. Some islands would sink. The earthquakes and the tsunamis that would result potentially from this possibly would sink and destroy islands. Maybe they're referring to Russia. Russia's not an island. Maybe they're saying they don't want. No, I think they're just making a reference to, we don't want to go through to do something so extreme that. To get our goals. It's not worth the cost. It's not worth the risk of doing something so extreme. Saying, we do not hate each other. Please stop trying to make us hate each other. We do not hate. Again, this is rhetoric. It'd be nice if you would actually explain yourself and your views here. But again, there is a little ounce of something good here. A little bit of ounce of something decent. But let's wrap up this article here and talk about men's issues and wrap up this video here for today. They say only a few people are willing to create nuclear Armageddon. That's fairly decently true, yes. The overwhelming majority of us do not want this. True. All of us need to remember that we have humanity. Again, they keep going on and on about this humanity. They supposedly the daughter said, "Daddy, why would I read that?" That was the big part of their article. Daddy, why would they want to nuke the world and be alone and be the only people on the earth and all of this? Anyways, this type of article, can you not see that there's nothing confident here or quote unquote masculine? Again, when I pointed out the capitulating. Of course we shouldn't be violent or rugged or tough, too tough, I guess you could say, with the Russians. But, they should know, and it should be very firm, that if they nuke, that we nuke. I don't even think that we were very open enough about that. That would be considered escalating. That would be considered a threat. That would be considered bad. But no, that's the assumption. and that is fair and a decent thing to say, to reiterate that we are not weak and that we have potential. Yeah, it's a political move, for sure. But why, there's people who are discussing the humanity of things. If you as a country get nuked, that you shouldn't send nukes back. That, you collectively should just assume the damages, and that karma will get them, and that you'll be in the right with karma, or or you don't want that blood on your hands, or, and all that. Really, a lot of these types of people, if we were to be nuked by Russia or anybody, they think that we should just take the punch or take the punches, and that's one reason that China continues to take over everything. They continue to steal our information. They blackmail and threaten and fund and our own government. If you don't know, we had one of our generals who was outed as a traitor to the Chinese government. They betrayed the USA, and they essentially didn't really get punished. We have people who try to expose government for their own corruption, who get treated worse than somebody, to help the public, expose government corruption. I mean, people have been treated worse for far smaller things, and somebody who is a general betrays America and is for China, and they pretty much didn't even get a slip on the wrist, as far as we can see. They didn't even get a slap on the wrist, as far as I can tell. And they're still acting as a general. It's not like they were court-martialed and thrown in jail. We don't have any special hearings or special courts or anything about any of this. It's we as an America, or as a nation, in regards to America, have become extremely weak. And I mention this, and I say this is because our governments encourage you to be weak. As a man, the principle here is that you should be concerned about the welfare of other people. You shouldn't be considered about your family's wealth. You're defending your home, defending the wealth that your family has built, or the businesses. You shouldn't be concerned about, people burning down your businesses or your homes. You should be more empathetic to the people committing violence and arson, and go along with the news and all these people who can constantly lie to you. This is the kind of thing that makes America weak, and again, you as a man weak. If you think that you are doing something significant by changing your profile picture on Instagram to a Ukraine flag, you're a fool. You're an absolute fool, and you're not doing anything to help anybody. You're not helping the world. You're not making the world a better place. It would actually make the world a better place if you as a man were willing to stand up and maybe tell your government, to not get involved in this conflict to begin with. Again, this is, the politics of things, but why is America involved with Ukraine? I'm not gonna get political here and say what America should do or shouldn't do, but our forefathers were very straightforward, and America was very laissez-faire, essentially hands-off, where they did not get involved with international issues for a very long time. And again, look into that, and we could argue if that's the right approach or not. The real issue here, again, is you are told to capitulate as a man. You are told to look at the demands and the quote-unquote women most affected. Women are hurt more. Somebody else is hurting more than you, the immigrants, the refugees, and you're told to sacrifice for them. And of course, this is only told to the Western people, the people who have succeeded, the people who have developed, and the people who have created. You don't tell the people of Saudi Arabia, who are extremely wealthy and are sitting on, thousands and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of gallons of oil. You don't tell them their responsibility to help build other nations. And you don't tell them to have a lesser standard of living. Again, America and you as a man are being told to become weaker and weaker. Our government leaders are telling you that you're going to have a lesser standard of living. They're telling you to accept the new norm in regards to government control about where you can go, what you can do, and what you can say, and how you can live, and also how much money you make. You know, you complaining about you being paid less and less as, you know, we continue to bring in cheap labor into this country. You know, you can't, you know, even make a decent living being a construction worker, or a firefighter or something. We won't get into the debate again with firefighters and unions. That's a whole nother discussion for another day. But anyways, you know, your labor is devalued, and these people who invade your countries often ship money out of your country, and they often fund people who are your enemies. They're sending they're I mean, it's like vampirism or a parasite. They literally take jobs, or take something from you, and then send it away, out of your country and your own economies. Again, that's more of an economical thing instead of bombs and survival and all this. But I hope that you as a man start to, tell people no. Tell people no. If people expect donations from you, if they expect you to give them service, they expect you to go into war, for a draft, if they expect you to do these types of things to protect or help women or somebody else, say no. In fact, we as men need to start speaking up against our jobs being taken, and our government stripping us of our power and our influence. And again, women care more about the biological children aspect of things, and men care about the legacy that they built. Why aren't men talking about that? All their businesses, their legacies, what their forefathers and people built for them is all about to all be stolen from inheritance taxes. Again, sometimes I feel that these conflicts, like the Ukraine war or quote unquote conflict, are all distractions. Like, most people are not paying attention to the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp case, which is something that's far more impactful or actually relevant, to our society, something that actually will make an impact. And they're not really talking about this kind of thing, because it's not really going in their favor that much anymore. If it was going in their favor, if it was clearly a case where a man had done or was in the wrong, they would be talking about it nonstop. They would, if Johnny Depp actually was the perpetrator and actually was the person doing something wrong, they would be talking about it 24/7 and talking about how women are wronged, and the violence against women, and how men are bad and toxic men and all this and that. They'd be talking. That's what they would be talking about, and that's what they would care about. Sadly, you as a man often don't pay attention to something unless women tell you to, and that's another thing. Do your own research, and also teach children. Obviously, this woman here can't. This person here can't teach this daughter very well, at all. Supposedly, they watched some YouTube videos together and things. She's clearly not emotionally competent, and clearly can't teach a child very well at all. And you, as a lot of the times, you as a man are kicked out of the house. Again, family court and divorce courts and all this. I know how bad it is, and I know that some of you single fathers or fathers out there who have split custody and all this, you love that you would you love that, or would love that, the opportunity to teach your children more. You would love that opportunity, and you so desperately want to teach children, or to have a family, or to have children. But it's tough, and you as a man hopefully will share your wisdom and your education and your truth to help people be more aware of these types of issues. Because again, this supposedly, from what we can read here, the correct issue, the correct answer is empathy and capitulation, and screaming loudly about that it's like we don't want violence. Supposedly that's going to fix the problem. I don't want there to be war with Russia and conflicts, but you know, in some circumstances, defending yourself and defending your nation was the right thing to do. When America fought off the British, and again, I do want to respect the French for helping as well. The French did get involved, but you know, us fighting off the British and fighting for freedom and justice and other things as well. Multiple people in history who fought for, you know, freedom and justice and all these things. They they were justified clearly, and they did the right thing. Of course, there's consequences, and not everybody's perfect. But you as a man, you know, being nice only gets you so far. A lot of you men need to be loud or be more demanding. Again, I can tell you about all kinds of college things and college experiences and things like that, but you know, people won't pay attention to you a lot of the times unless you call them out, unless you get demanding. For a quick example, at college, I was trying to get, again, these people were extremely incompetent and were supposed to be over business management and be over that, you know, that focus or that you going for that type of diploma. You know, these types of people would do, you know, there were other departments that were more for helping you, you know, schedule your classes. This wasn't like a basic human resource thing. These people were supposed to have actual not business knowledge and also have contacts and references that you could possibly use to get hired and training. And I asked for weeks and weeks, almost a month, for references and help and training, and they constantly just give me the runaround. They wouldn't give me any real information. This stuff there should have been training courses and things already available. I shouldn't have even had to ask, but I asked for like a month, and eventually called them incompetent, and then they got all mad and all flustered, and they acted like I was a problem and I was a thorn in their side when they couldn't even give me basic, you know, basic aid, basic things that all colleges should have. You need, you know, as a man, need to capitulate less, maybe even have less empathy. Some of you men out there, whenever a woman says she's uncomfortable or she said that somebody was mean to her, you have so much empathy that you don't realize that woman chooses to date that man, that she continues to go back. Supposedly that man is so bad. What she's trying to do is fix him and change him, and he's a bad boy who has lots of options and lots of girls, and she would like to get that guy, but you know, he's playing around, and he's not wanting to be solo with her, you know, be in a relationship or a marriage or whatever. You as a man are blind yourself by empathy. You know, you can be blinded by anger or conflict. You can be angered by pride and lots of other things that can be, you know, vices or quote unquote sin or whatever. But you could be blinded by empathy or love, quote unquote love as well. And I fear that too many people now are being blinded by something that, you know, something quote unquote like love that can be seen as a virtue with no faults, a virtue with no negatives, a virtue of, you know, even of like to the extreme of like martyrdom, that, you know, Western societies need to sacrifice themselves and be martyrs for the rest of the world because, you know, you're too wealthy. You know, you have too many cars, or you use too much gas. You know, you need to, you know, sacrifice your lifestyle and your money and your businesses and what you have, so, you know, somebody else can keep having, you know, again, when you don't even have enough children per family average to replace your own levels, you know, or replace your own population with one or two or maybe three kids per family. And people in foreign nations especially some of these poor countries, they can still have 5, 6, 7, you know, more kids, and, you know, you're supposed to be responsible for them. You're responsible for them now. You see how this goes? You're a citizen of the world. It's your responsibility to hand over your money. Hand over your money. You're responsible for other people. No, ultimately, you as a man and you and a person is responsible for yourself. If you want to be charitable or kind, and give what you can to other people, that's all good. But again, you as a man and as a person have almost half of everything you earn stolen from you from the government for social, programs and things that aren't even, real charity. It's social justice and remolding and restructuring of society. It's I think it's time that you start fighting for what's actually yours. Stop thinking about what you can give as a man. Again, people would think you're extremely selfish to say this, but think about maybe what you can take. And that sounds extremely selfish and extremely destructive, especially to somebody in this type of article. But you as a man have everything stolen from you. It's time for you to start fighting for at least for what you deserve. I'm not saying steal from other people. I'm saying, fight and for what you can get, and and for positions and influence and money and power. That is what helps build you as a person and build civilizations and what ultimately makes the world a better place. You as a man, fighting for, what you want and what you've earned and what you deserve. It's not capitulating. It's not all of us saying kumbaya and working together and having a picnic. That's not what builds society and builds technology and builds innovation. Anyways, hope this article made sense. I hope that this was a beneficial article. I hope that this was a helpful video. And let me know what you think about my thoughts on this. Do you think that this little daughter, was given any education, told anything that was actually educational or helpful? Do you think that men need to actually start saying no to feminists and women in societies that take from them and start saying yes to their own success and their own dreams and their own goals? That men actually start needing to actually start making some actual demands in society? I think so. Let me know what you think down below. Thank you for watching this video, Daddy Knows Best channel. Let me know how I can improve or do something better. And I wish you a beautiful, wonderful day. I will see you soon, my friends. Have a beautiful day. And I'll see you in the next video, hopefully tomorrow. And peace out. And bye.